We make money at card counting by betting less when the casino has the advantage and betting more when we have the advantage. Well, what if there were a way to never bet when the casino had the advantage and only bet when we, as the card counter, have the advantage? Well, that, my friends, is called wonging. Hey guys, I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and let me start this off by telling a short story. So this is maybe 6 months or a year into my card counting career, and there's a place called Skyway Park Bowl and Casino. It was a bowling alley that had a small casino in it. There are a lot of these places here in Washington State. And I used to play this place every week, and I was there, and you know, if other people are playing at the table, I wouldn't sit down and play. I would just stand behind the table and do what's called back counting. I would watch, wait for a true one, and then I would sit down and start playing. And I remember I'm standing and, you know, there's another young guy at the table and he's playing and the count's not going positive, and then it finally does, and I start playing. And then it goes below a true one, and so I sit out again and I start watching the table again, and then it goes positive again. I start playing again, and this guy, he gets upset. He goes, "Hey!" And he calls the pit boss over to the table and he's like, "Hey, this guy's counting cards. He's waiting only for the good counts to play." And the pit boss looked at me, looked back at the guy, goes, "I don't know," and walked away. Well, that was me putting into practice what is called wonging, or back counting and wonging in. So clearly the pit boss didn't care what I was doing. I've got other stories like that of people saying, "Hey, what's this guy doing?" I've got many more, probably 1,000 hours of playing at the blackjack tables where I'm doing this and nobody knows what I'm doing. But I want to explain what it is and why we would do it. So the first idea is what's called back counting. Why would we back count? The main reason we would back count is because when we sit at a blackjack table and play, every hand of blackjack we play below a true one is like we're paying rent at the tables, because the casino has the advantage on every hand we play until it gets to a certain true count. Well, to sit there and play when the casino has the advantage is costing us money. I like to call it rent. You don't sit at the table and play for free. You're paying rent to play at the table. Well, I like to let all the gamblers pay rent while I just wait for the opportunity for me to make money at the tables. So the first reason to back count is avoiding rent, waiting for the opportunity where we have the advantage to start playing. The second reason to back count is efficiency. Our goal as a card counter isn't to play blackjack. Our goal as a card counter is to play positive hands of blackjack, to play hands at which we have the advantage, and to play as many of those as we can and wait for all the math to work out and us to have long-term profits. Anything below a true one is not really serving our goal. If the other players at the table can play those hands for us, that's great. But if you're playing below a true one, not only is it, you know, costing you rent, but it's just taking time, it's hurting your bankroll, it's increasing your risk, and it's really just a waste of energy. So in an ideal world, a card counter would never play below when we have the true count. Does it always work that way? No, it doesn't. And there are plenty of times where I have to sit at a table and play. But if you have an opportunity to back count, it's really going to serve you well. Let's talk about wonging. Wonging is when you actually enter in the table. It's named after Stanford Wong, who wrote some of the most important books for card counting: Professional Blackjack, Basic Blackjack, Blackjack Secrets. I've met him a couple times, and he's a hero of mine, and he kind of popularized this idea of wonging in at positive true counts. So let's talk about wonging in. When will we do this? Generally, we get the advantage above a true one. Well, if you're gonna wong in, I'd probably wait for at least a true 1.5, if not a true 2, because it gets a little bit awkward if you get a true one. Let's say right here, we've got a little more than 2 decks in the discard tray. Let's say we've got a running 4. That means we've got a true 1. Well, if you were to jump in and after one hand, the running count drops to a running 3, now all of a sudden we're below a true 1, and we'd have to pull our bets back. Well, that can get a little bit awkward doing that every hand or two. So I might wait for a true 1.5 or a true 2. That's when we're going to have a little bit stronger of an advantage, and hopefully you're going to be playing at least a handful of hands before you're going to have to wong back out. Secondly, as far as how to wong in, I just say be dumb. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to have some elaborate explanation of why you just decided to play at the table. All you have to do is start playing. I've played it with, just very clearly gamblers that like to stand behind the table and wait for some superstitious moment to then start betting. Well, great, good for them. We just want to play dumb and do kind of the same thing. And then you just When it goes negative, you decide to pull your bets back. One other tip on wonging is don't get too comfortable at the table. So let's say we get this true 1.5 or true 2. Let's say it even climbs higher to a true 3. You don't want to like kick your feet up, sit down at the table, have a whole bunch of chips in front of you, get your lucky rabbit's foot out and order a Mai Tai, because that count could drop at any moment, at which point you're not going to want to be there waiting for a drink to be delivered when you got this negative true count and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. If you want to be efficient, wonging in and wonging out, you got to be ready to move. Don't get too comfortable. As far as wonging out, the first thing is, when should you actually wong out? Well, if you're waiting for true 1.5, true 2 to wong in, I would say you could probably play all the way until it gets below a true 1. Once it gets below a true 1, it's time to pull your bets back. Secondly, as far as how to do it, again, be dumb. You don't have to give an explanation. You just stop playing. You step back. You know, you don't want to look like too odd in the casino, but just look around and everyone looks kind of odd in a casino. You're probably not the most interesting person in there. So it drops below true 1. You just stop playing. You don't have to have some really cute, elaborate explanation. But if you want some really cute, elaborate explanations, here are a handful that you could consider. Oh, you guys go ahead. The cards have turned. You know what? Deal me out. I'm going to set out a few hands. Hey, you guys go ahead. I'm going to figure out where I'm at, see if I'm still down. Another thing you can do is just turn to the pit boss and say, hey, do you guys have any good restaurants here? Oh, you guys deal me out. And while talking to the pit boss, you know, just make sure you catch every card as it's being dealt. Now, generally, you don't need an excuse. Just play dumb and start by sitting out a hand or two. Unless the cut card comes out, you can just sit out a hand or two. If the count goes positive again, you start playing again. If it doesn't go positive, then, you know, just keep waiting. If the cut card comes out or goes negative, you can step away from the table, go find another table, start back counting. But you can use this to increase your efficiency in a casino, lower your risk, get more positive rounds in per hour. And this is still my preferred way of playing in a lot of places across the US or even beyond the US. That's back counting. That's how wonging works. Use it to your advantage. Don't be too obvious with it, but at the same time, use it and don't be afraid to use it in a casino. If you want to learn more about beating the casino, we've got weekly tips here on the YouTube channel, or you can check out Blackjack Apprenticeship. We have a free mini course. There's a link right over here where you can learn more about beating the casino, thinking like a card counter, and we've got an entire membership dedicated to training, providing community, and the software and resources that card counters need to make large amounts of money as a card counter.